Hey, good Monday morning. It's September 19th. I'm meteorologist Pete Malone, and this is your about 10 a.m. update on what we're tracking out in the tropics. The main thing continues to be Hurricane Fiona, and we're going to talk a lot about it, some of the impacts we're seeing already with catastrophic flooding in the Puerto Rico area and into the Dominican Republic. And we're also going to touch on two other areas. One is highlighted by the Hurricane Center and one not just yet, but I think they will eventually. So let's start with the track. This is the latest track as of 10 a.m. Central Time or 11 a.m. Eastern Time for Hurricane Fiona, continuing to forecasted to strengthen over the next several days and then make its way north. So notice still not approaching the contiguous United States, but certainly bringing an impact to portions of and all of Puerto Rico over the past 48 hours. Notice making its way north. It is just now getting near the coast of the Dominican Republic. It will be out over the waters later today and should strengthen. The National Hurricane Center has it becoming a Cat 2, and then eventually they do have it becoming a Category 3 to the north of the Turks and Caicos. And this is going to pass very close to the Turks and Caicos by tonight. Now notice it makes its way north, kind of jogs northeast, and actually becomes gets very close to Bermuda as we go into Thursday night and Friday morning, maybe as a major Category 3 hurricane. So this is going to be a strong hurricane in the vicinity of Bermuda and could bring some pretty big impacts to the islands there Thursday night into Friday morning, and then moving up to the north to Newfoundland in Canada. So the St. John's area could have a extra tropical system by the time it gets there, but nonetheless some wind, surge, rain, and all those things. Why is this thing turning? Well, the steering currents. What is fortunately helping us avoid this here in the United States, or the contiguous United States, is the trough of low pressure coming down and this ridge of high pressure weakening. Now, this ridge is weaker on the eastern side or the western side of it. So that's what's allowing the system, Fiona, to ride around the periphery of that ridge. It'll steer it up towards Bermuda, but notice this trough is coming down. That's going to pick it up and bring it up to the areas of Newfoundland and up towards St. John as we go into this weekend and early next week. So overall, that's why it's not coming directly at the continental United States here. So hurricane warnings, they've been issued for the Turks and Caicos. We've got hurricane warnings continuing for the eastern side of the Dominican Republic. Still have tropical storm warnings for areas of all of Puerto Rico because you're still getting some gusty winds. But the main story with Fiona so far has been the rains, and boy, has it produce some flooding rain. So just to give you a little idea on the winds you're going to be expecting to pick up in the Turks and Caicos as we go into tonight, they'll be pretty strong, could be hurricane force winds. And then notice the system continues to strengthen, and then you really start to see conditions go down here in Bermuda late Thursday night into early Friday morning. Checking in on radar here because we do have the radars down in Puerto Rico that are getting a good image of this. You could see the eye is spinning just on the northern coastline of the Dominican Republic, so it's about to be out over the waters. And once it's over the waters, we'll be able to go back in with the hurricane hunters. But you know, it's still on this eastern side of the storm, just a fire hose of moisture continuing to move into Puerto Rico, and that just means the flooding is going to continue, especially for some of the hardest hit areas. And also elevation-induced heavy rainfall. So the topography, the mountain range that moisture is running into, it just enhances some of the rainfall totals we've seen. And some of these are just sky high. I mean, over the past 48 hours, portions of the island here, you notice picking up 27, nearly 28 inches of rain. We're going to add to that today. You still got this banding right in here that we're getting a lot. 24.5 inches or nearly 25 inches over here. Now towards San Juan, hasn't been as much, but we're picking up nearly 10 inches of rain, which is still significant. But some of the areas down here on the south central and southeastern parts of the island have picked up nearly 30 inches and could top 30 inches when it's all said and done. So rainfall potential through the rest of today. Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands are still kind of in that hose of moisture and heavy rain. Could add an additional 3 to 5 to 7 inches in a few spots. And that's why some will end up with over 30 inches. And really, I mean, that rainfall anywhere is catastrophic. And we've seen that so far with mudslides and, of course, power outages and just so many problems for our friends down in Puerto Rico. So that's what's going on with Fiona. Continues to be a big deal for the islands, the Greater Antilles, the Turks, and up towards Bermuda, and then maybe up to Newfoundland over the weekend. So could bring some disturbed weather there. Now, deeper in the tropics, we've got two other areas. This one is being highlighted by the National Hurricane Center. It's just an area of disturbed weather. There's not much to it. Probably not going to really develop much, and if it does, it's not really going to impact anyone other than some shipping lanes. Now, there is a tropical wave that's embedded in the monsoon trough that's a bit further to the south, and this does have a chance to try to organize. Now, the Hurricane Center is not highlighting it yet. I think they will at some point, but in the next couple of days, don't be surprised if they throw a yellow hatched box here. And as this moves towards the Caribbean as we go into the end of this work week and the weekend, may try to organize some. Now, the environment it's going to be moving into, not a whole lot of wind shear, some, and some dry air, but there are some signs and guidance from multiple models and all the different models we use that this could definitely try to organize some. Now, when you look at our GFS and European model guidance, they both show similar scenarios, with the wave itself getting into the Caribbean by around Thursday into Friday. Now, the GFS is much more organized and aggressive with it, the European not so much, and this has been a trend this year. It's possible, you know, the scenario, it doesn't have to be either or, it could be somewhere in between, and we may see somewhat of a ragged wave enter the Caribbean on Thursday and have a chance to organize into early next week. So this takes us all the way into Monday, a full week from now, and whatever the disturbance may be or may become, it's still in the Caribbean, so it's no imminent threat to the United States. But in the Jamaica area, the Caribbean islands, something to watch maybe into this weekend and early next week. Of course, we'll track it. We're still in the heart of hurricane season right now. The peak is really around the second week, but it stays high, at least climatology speaking. We see a lot of activity all the way through late September and even into the first couple of weeks of October. It can be pretty active. Late October things usually wind down, but we have seen some pretty bad storms in late October as well. So just take it day by day, take it week by week. Other than Fiona, there's no imminent threat in the tropics, but that wave that's going to be entering the Caribbean later this week into the weekend, we'll be keeping an eye on it long term. But that does it for our Monday, September 19th tropical update. Main impacts continue to be from Fiona in the Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic area, moving towards the Turks and Caicos tonight into tomorrow, and then up towards Bermuda by Thursday night into Friday. That's going to do it. Thank you so much for joining me.